Um, Good afternoon, and I just want to echo my colleagues' welcome of both of you here today, and just welcome the papers you presented to us. And I think it's been a really interesting discussion, and I think it shows real foresight and forward planning, and something that's really necessary. Unfortunately, I have had to represent constituents who have been subject to sanctions from social protection for something very simple like not signing a form or not turning up to a meeting, and being left with reduced money or no money, and it was disgraceful. And having said that, like, while most of the staff within social protection are extremely helpful, they are overworked, and sometimes then the amount of bureaucracy and paperwork that's required, it's excessive. And I think what you say there about going back to what social protection should be or what social welfare should be is very important, and I think we have to think about what kind of a system we actually want. I'm just wondering, in your work, will you be looking at all the payments made by, say, down here, the Department of Social Protection, for example, such as carers allowance and disability allowance? Will that come under your remit? Because I represent disability and carers, as that's my portfolio for the party. And say, in relation to carers allowance, it's a means-tested payment. So sometimes, and it's predominantly taken on by women. Regularly, if a spouse or a partner is working, they end up that they don't qualify for any sort of payment. It's not what it was introduced 30 years ago. It's not. It was supposed to be introduced as a support to an older person to keep them out of a nursing home. But now we see many parents working 24/7, caring for maybe a child with a profound or complex disability, and maybe not qualify for any money. And up to now, no pension rights either, because they may have not had the opportunity to work outside the home, and therefore didn't earn any pension rights. Now that's set to change from next year, which I welcome, and I hope it does. But will you be looking at that? Because I mean, I don't know that social protection is even the right place for carers allowance. So I don't think the rate isn't enough. The fact it's means tested is an issue, but I'm not even sure it should be a social protection payment, because it's really hard work that carers do. And also disability, I suppose. It's sometimes, I feel it's almost a disincentive to work, because disabled people are reliant on payment. But if they take up employment, they lose their payment, and they lose other secondary benefits such as medical card and so on. So again, it's something that I think really needs to be rethought, so that we have more disabled people going into the workforce, but not taking away a stable payment that they need. Because there's been studies on the cost of disability, and we know that a family with a disabled person, the cost of living is much higher than a family without. So it's just if that will be part of your remit.
All of that is so important, and absolutely it will be part of the discussions. The people who are involved in the All Ireland Social Security Network bring expertise from all areas of the social security system, and I think it is exemplary that we examine all aspects of it. And just to share your frustration with carers allowance, well, it's carers allowance in the northern system, and how ineffective it is at supporting carers, and how it completely overlooks their role and how they save the state billions every year in terms of the cost of care. I am sitting on a care commission in Northern Ireland at the minute, which is seeking to look at better solutions for carers. I do take your point that it may not lie in social protection. However, on the other side of that coin is that may confuse claimants even further in terms of the many entitlements that are available. That's one of the many complexities of the social security system, and something that the All Ireland Social Security Group and others would like to unpick together. There's such a complex web of provision across housing in Northern Ireland, across housing, across health and social care, the NHS, and there's not those direct comparisons in some areas in the south. So there is a lot to get your head around. It's a very complex system, but absolutely disability benefits and carers allowance is absolutely on the agenda, and it's so important. And in terms of disability benefits in the north, again, they're completely lacking in humanity. The assessments that people have to go through, which are carried out by contracted companies, throw people into huge amounts of stress, anxiety, and hardship. The whole system has to go through wholesale change. And from a very personal perspective, the thought of developing, as Tom very eloquently put it at the end of his statement, a leading welfare state it's hugely hopeful for me as somebody who is experiencing a hugely punitive, cruel, and heartless system in the north every single day, and hearing stories from the people who are subject to it.
I think you're absolutely right that there should be research done on all areas. I know that Joe Whelan in Trinity is starting work on the working family payment. But in a way, we do need to branch out to study all of the experiences on all of these areas. It's certainly, we have a lot of evidence, or the people in interviews report to myself and Ray Griffin, and also to McGann and Philip Finn's research. We found that people moved from job seekers to disability, saying, well, I'll go down to the doctors and I'll claim something or other, in order to not be put through the ringer, so that my entitlement becomes more automatic. Now, I suppose that's the negative side in these stories and these things that go wrong. In regard to carers, when we're thinking about a welfare state for the future, maybe we should begin to think of we have a great new innovation in the Irish system, whereby we have an automatic income for artists, 350 a week for a certain amount of them. Why shouldn't we have the same system for carers, that we just say, well, listen, if you have to be a carer, we'll support you because you're doing the work of the state. You're outsourced by the state to mind people in a certain way. And it also is, if we're thinking about the future of the welfare state, at the moment the welfare state is kind of, it's mainly support. Most of its money goes into pensions. That's the largest single block. But additionally, what it does is it sits between people in the labour market, between society and the economy, sort of heating up the labour market. In a way, what we actually need is for the welfare state to act to cool down the labour market, to say, slow down, you can go caring, whether it's for your children or somebody with a particular care need in your home, in order that we have a ecologically sustainable economy. Because at the moment, we're sort of addicted to growth, which means that we push people towards any job whatsoever to speed things up. And our colleagues Mary Murphy and Fiona Duclos have been producing work on an eco-social state. And really, in order to deal with the green challenge which is coming up, we really need to work less, or to work less frequently, or to work smarter, or to work more efficiently, but to work in such a way that you have a less carbon footprint. And allowing the people you're talking about who are out and then back to care, out at work, working out, just to leave these people the time to just care, or to work one job rather than two jobs in a household. We used to have 1 million people in the labour market in Ireland in the 1980s. All kinds of things were wrong with that, because it was a patriarchal system and there was the breadwinner, and there was all kinds of things which were not right about it. But they produced enough goods and services to keep the country going. Now we have 2.5 million people in employment in Ireland today. And certainly we can do with fewer of them, and we will have fewer of them as we have the greying population, that fewer people will be in work. But it is perfectly possible for these people to produce all the goods and services we need. In Ireland, we have a nice tier of population. Other countries around Europe have far fewer people working. So I suppose it's a way of thinking of the welfare state as a support rather than as an accelerator of the labour market, which leads to the kind of problems that Ciara was talking about the pressure that we've mentioned, I suppose, so many times.
Thank you.